If anything happens to me, I'm not vital. That's what Aaron Carter said, just weeks before he was found dead in a bathtub. The media called it a tragedy, an overdose, another fallen star. But that's not the story we're telling tonight, because behind the headlines is something no one wants to touch: leaked tapes. Tapes Aaron claimed could expose the darkest secrets of the entertainment industry. Elite parties, underage victims, hidden cameras, and names you know all too well. Then, suddenly, one of the most powerful lawyers in Hollywood walked out of the courtroom. No explanation, just fear. Was Aaron Carter paranoid? Or did he know something that got him killed? Tonight, we follow the trail, through the tapes, the courtroom, and a hidden war inside Hollywood. This is the Aaron Carter tapes, and what they reveal is worse than anyone imagined. In the final year of his life, Aaron Carter wasn't chasing fame. He was running from something. His live streams were chaotic. His voice was on edge, but if you listened closely, his message was crystal clear. He said they were watching him, following him, that he had proof. If I release them, it's over. Tapes, not interviews, not rumors, recordings of things so dark, so disturbing, he claimed the world would shut down. Private gatherings, famous names, young faces, and cameras, always cameras. He spoke of rituals, rooms with no phones, no witnesses, just masks and power. He told people he backed them up: cloud servers, flash drives, encrypted, hidden. It's my insurance. And he was serious. People laughed. They said he was paranoid, delusional. But others, they started to pay attention, because the things he described weren't all that different from stories that had been circulating for years. On one live stream, now wiped from the internet, Aaron leaned in close to the camera, eyes wide, voice low. "They're gonna kill me for this, but I'm not scared anymore." That was one of his last broadcasts, and just weeks later, he was gone. Found face down in a bathtub, alone. No camera footage, no access to his phone, no drives, no tapes, just silence. The official cause of death was accidental drowning, but toxicology came back inconclusive. No clear signs of overdose, no foul play, officially. And yet, there were no backups, no files, nothing left behind, as if someone had gone through and wiped it all away. Some said Aaron was spiraling. That addiction had blurred the line between truth and fiction. But what if it hadn't? What if he really did have the tapes? What if someone got to him first? Because not long after Aaron's death, the recordings he talked about, the ones everyone said didn't exist, they resurfaced in a courtroom where a billionaire's lawyer took one look at the evidence and walked away without warning, without explanation, only fear. In February 2024, a ripple hit the legal world. Sean Diddy Combs, global mogul, music legend, billionaire, was facing explosive allegations. But what happened next, no one saw coming. His lead attorney, Anthony Rico, a seasoned legal heavyweight, abruptly resigned from the case. No press conference, no spin, just a sealed document filed with the court. Inside it, just one line stood out: "Under no circumstances can I proceed with this defense." That's not normal. Lawyers don't just walk away from billion-dollar clients, especially not in the middle of a legal firestorm. But this wasn't a simple civil suit. This was something deeper, something darker. Whispers began almost immediately. Had Rico seen something? Was he warned? Or was he protecting himself? Some sources close to the case claimed it all came down to one thing: the tapes. The same tapes Aaron Carter had spoken about. The same ones people insisted never existed. But now, allegedly, they were in the hands of federal investigators, confiscated in a quiet raid, buried in sealed evidence files, and shown, briefly privately, to a handful of people behind closed doors. Rico was one of them, and whatever he saw was enough to make him run. He didn't issue a statement. He didn't return calls. He simply disappeared from the defense. Other legal experts were stunned, not because a lawyer quit, but because of how he quit. So fast, so final. As if continuing the case wasn't just risky, but dangerous. This is where the speculation took over. Some said the evidence was doctored, deep fakes, synthetic voices, a high-level smear campaign against one of the most powerful men in music. Others weren't so sure, because the resignation wasn't the only thing that happened. A private investigator working for the defense also disappeared, off the grid for 2 weeks. When he resurfaced, he refused to speak to anyone, not even his own team. A second law firm, one handling public relations for Diddy, cut ties the same week. No explanation, just a quiet statement. We are no longer representing this client. And behind all of it, that same word kept surfacing. Tapes. Insiders say the files weren't short. They weren't edited. They were long, raw, and horrifying. If they're real, they could implicate not just Diddy, but others. Big names. Names with money, with reach, with protection. So maybe Rico didn't quit out of fear. Maybe he was told to walk away. Or maybe he knew something the rest of the world hadn't figured out yet. That this case was about to become something else entirely. Not just a scandal, but a reckoning. In the last few months of his life, Aaron Carter stopped sounding like a pop star. He started sounding like a whistleblower. And maybe that's exactly what he was. His videos became erratic, sometimes frantic, but woven through the chaos were patterns. Patterns of fear, patterns of paranoia, and maybe patterns of truth. He went live on Instagram at all hours of the night. He stared into the camera, eyes hollow, voice cracking, saying things that didn't make sense at the time, but now they sound like warnings. They're watching me. They want to shut me up. I know what they've done. At one point, he launched a GoFundMe. Not for drugs, not for an album, but for protection. He wasn't asking for fame. He was asking for security. I need a legal team. I need protection. They're going to kill me. Most people brushed it off. Just another celebrity meltdown. Another overdose waiting to happen. But look closer. He wasn't naming names on camera, but off camera, he was talking to people, sending files, making backups, trying desperately to build a wall around himself, a digital trail. He accused his brother, Nick Carter, of trying to have him committed. He said Sony Music owed him millions, and he hinted more than once that the people coming after him weren't just individuals. They were part of something bigger. It's a machine. And I said no. That's why they want me gone. Some dismissed it all as mental illness. Some called it drug-induced delusion. But here's the thing. Aaron knew the industry. He'd grown up inside it. He wasn't on the outside looking in. He had been there, in the rooms, around the people. And more importantly, he knew where to look. He said he had receipts, hard drives, audio files, and recordings of conversations with insiders. The way he described it, those tapes weren't just a last resort. They were his lifeline. In one of his final live streams, Aaron stared into the screen and said, "If I die, look into everything. Everything." 2 weeks later, he was gone. No witnesses, no foul play ruled, just water, pills, and a body in the tub. No phone data recovered, no drives found, no access to his cloud accounts. Everything he claimed to have vanished. Was it paranoia? Was it all in his head? Or did he know something? Something that made him dangerous? Because Aaron Carter might not have been crazy. He might have been the first one to say what others were too afraid to. And now the question isn't just whether he had the tapes. It's who has them now. At first glance, Aaron Carter and Sean Diddy Combs don't seem connected. Different eras, different genres, different universes. But look closer. and you'll start to see the threads. Aaron didn't mention Diddy by name, not directly, but the people he talked about, the ones at the center of the parties, the recordings, the blackmail, they sound a lot like the names now caught in the storm surrounding Diddy. Because this isn't just about one man, it's about a pattern. Aaron was close with Melissa Schumann, a member of the early 2000s pop group Dream. Diddy helped launch that group. Melissa later came forward with serious accusations of sexual assault against Aaron's own brother, Nick Carter. Aaron believed her, defended her, and said publicly, "She's not lying, I know." He claimed to have seen things, heard things, that the industry protected predators, and that he was done staying silent. That's when things started spiraling. Melissa's accusations were tied to a much larger web, one that included major labels, agents, handlers, and executives. Aaron said it out loud. They protect each other. Then there were the parties. Aaron described events with strict no-phone policies, guest lists filled with celebrities, politicians, even royalty, and levels. He talked about parties with layers. First, the public-facing ones, glamorous, clean, made for photos. Then, the private rooms. And finally, the after rooms. That's where things changed. Masked guests, underage girls, cameras hidden behind walls, people too powerful to ever be caught. Now listen to the allegations currently circling around Diddy. Sound familiar? His white parties were legendary. Invite only, no press, no recordings. Some of the very people Carter feared were regulars at those events, and some of the patterns Aaron described now match up with recent lawsuits filed against Diddy, allegations of grooming, coercion, blackmail, and private footage used as leverage. It might be coincidence, or it might be something worse, because what Aaron was describing long before it made headlines lines up disturbingly well with what victims are now saying under oath. And the deeper you go, the more it seems like Aaron didn't just stumble into this world by accident. He was born into it, raised inside it, used by it, and then discarded. So no, Aaron Carter didn't call out Diddy directly. But the people, the parties, the tapes, they point in the same direction. And the truth is, Aaron may have started telling this story before anyone else dared to. The only difference, he didn't live to finish it. Insiders say multiple copies of the Carter tapes exist, one on a drive that vanished after his death, another allegedly smuggled out of the country, a third in the hands of someone who has nothing to lose. There's no official confirmation, but what we do have is a growing list of people backing away. Lawyers, agents, producers. One by one, they're going silent, retreating, like they know something's about to break. So what's the truth? Are these insiders real? Or are they just chasing clout in a collapsing industry? There's no way to know for sure, but if even half of what they say is true, then Aaron Carter wasn't lying. He wasn't delusional. He was sitting on a bomb filled with names, faces, and evidence. And now, someone might finally be lighting the fuse. That's when the real shift started. Suddenly, prosecutors began speaking about potential racketeering charges, organized activity, multiple participants, a structure designed not just to exploit, but to protect those doing the exploiting. Suddenly, this wasn't about fame or music or even money. It was about power and how far some people would go to keep it hidden. But here's where things get even stranger. Two people named in early versions of the lawsuits have vanished from public life. One was a former assistant. The other, a private videographer rumored to have worked at Diddy's white parties. Both were expected to testify. Neither has been heard from in months. No social media, no legal updates, nothing. So now, the system is on edge. More lawyers are expected to step down. The Department of Justice is allegedly monitoring new witness lists. And behind the scenes, there's a sense that something big is about to break. Not just another celebrity trial, but an unmasking. The kind that could collapse more than reputations. It could collapse an entire machine. By early 2025, the courtroom wasn't just a legal battleground. It had become a pressure cooker. What started as a lawsuit against Sean Diddy Combs was turning into something else entirely, a reckoning, one that reached far beyond the man sitting in the defendant's chair, because the fallout was spreading. After Anthony Rico resigned as Diddy's attorney, others followed, fast. One by one, members of the legal and PR teams began distancing themselves. A second lawyer filed a motion to be removed from the case. No official reason given. A veteran crisis manager, someone who'd handled scandals for A-list stars, abruptly cut ties. Just a single line in her statement: "This situation is no longer manageable." What were they seeing? What was coming? Sources close to the prosecution say it all centers on a growing pile of evidence, specifically a series of video and audio files that are being referred to in sealed documents as untampered original materials. Those words are important because the defense claims something very different. They say the tapes are fake, that they've been digitally manipulated, that someone is weaponizing deepfake technology to frame a cultural icon. But behind closed doors, even that story seems to be unraveling. Insiders say the FBI has confirmed the chain of custody on at least one of the recordings. It was allegedly recovered from a secure location overseas, encrypted, password protected, and dated months before Aaron Carter's death. The file reportedly contains footage matching elements Aaron described in his final weeks. Same people, same setting, same rituals. And if that footage is authentic, it's no longer a civil matter. It becomes criminal. At some point, you stop calling it a coincidence. The sealed files, the vanished witnesses, the sudden resignations, the tapes no one is allowed to talk about, we've seen this before. The names change, the locations shift, but the pattern, it stays the same. Jeffrey Epstein. For years, the rumors swirled. Private islands, elite guest lists, underage victims. The media brushed it off until it exploded. And even then, the questions only got darker. His tapes? Gone. The surveillance from inside his house? Wiped. The names in his black book? Heavily redacted, buried, protected. Harvey Weinstein. Decades of abuse enabled by a system of silence, studios, lawyers, publicists, all playing their part. How many people knew? How many just looked away? It wasn't just about one man's crimes, it was about the structure that let it all happen. And now it's happening again. Aaron Carter died warning the world. He said he had tapes. He said he was being followed. He said they would come for him. Then he was gone. And now Sean Diddy Combs stands at the center of a storm with the same shadows circling him. Whispers of blackmail, parties behind locked doors, cameras used as weapons, and a trail of people suddenly going quiet. But what if that silence isn't fear? What if it's protection? Because in every one of these cases, Epstein, Weinstein, R. Kelly, there's one common thread. They were shielded by the industry, by the media, and sometimes even by the government. Think about it. Epstein was known to law enforcement for years. Weinstein had NDAs stacked a mile high. R. Kelly was acquitted once, while new victims were still being groomed. And every time someone tried to speak out, they were ridiculed, dismissed, or silenced. Now ask yourself this. If Aaron Carter had evidence, if he really had those tapes, who would benefit from making sure no one ever saw them? And what about now? Why are major media outlets avoiding the story? Why are certain names being scrubbed from coverage? Why are some lawsuits quietly settling behind closed doors? It's not just about justice, it's about narrative. The narrative that tells you who the villain is and who's too powerful to ever be called one. Because when billionaires get exposed, it's not just their secrets at risk. It's the entire machine they're plugged into. By now it's clear. This isn't just about Aaron Carter. It's not just about Diddy. And it's not just about a few leaked tapes. It's about control. Because as the silence grows louder, a bigger question begins to form. One that no one on the inside wants to answer. Who's really pulling the strings? Behind the headlines, a deeper story is taking shape. A hacker collective, anonymous, decentralized, claims to have access to a larger cache of files. Not just videos, not just audio, but names, a list, tied to a vault, tied to a network, tied to everything Aaron hinted at before he died. Some say it's fake, others say it's real, and already in the hands of foreign governments. What's more disturbing? High-profile figures have started publicly distancing themselves from Diddy. A-listers deleting old photos, artists leaving his label, politicians canceling meetings. Suddenly, his orbit is shrinking, fast. Not because of guilt, but because of exposure. See, in Hollywood, silence is currency. Allegiances shift with the tide. And when someone becomes a liability, even the closest allies vanish. And Diddy, he's becoming radioactive. But that begs the question, why now? Why are the lawsuits coming forward now? Why did Aaron's warnings get dismissed for so long and only now start making sense? Maybe it's not a coincidence. Maybe the machine is shifting. Or maybe, just maybe, it's eating itself. Because if the tapes are real, if the parties were real, if the threats, the surveillance, the silencing, if all of that is real, then Aaron Carter wasn't crazy. He wasn't lost. He was targeted. And everything he feared is finally beginning to surface. So now you've heard the story, the tapes, the resignation, the warnings, the silence. Aaron Carter tried to tell us, maybe too early, maybe too loud, and maybe that's what got him killed. Because if the things he claimed were true, if even one of those recordings exists, then this isn't just a scandal, it's a blueprint. One that shows exactly how the powerful stay protected and how the ones who speak up disappear. But this story isn't over. In fact, it may just be starting. More tapes could surface, more names could fall. And the machine behind all of this, it's beginning to crack. If you're still watching, if your gut's telling you something's off, you're not alone. There's more coming, more we're digging into. And when it drops, you'll want to be here to see it first. So, if you want the next chapter, subscribe, like the video, leave a comment below, tell us what you believe, and hit that bell icon so they don't bury this story before it breaks wide open. And listen to the ones they tried to silence.